So I don't know if you've heard this, but Kentucky Fried Chicken is they're leaving HQ, which has been in Louisville, Kentucky since the dawn of time or whatever, and they're going to Plano, Texas. And I wanted to get your take on this incredible move.
Sometimes the jokes write themselves, folks. Yeah. I did not know this. You're hitting me cold with this. And so is it going to be Plano fried chicken now? I mean, it's not going to be Plano.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. It's not Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's just plain old chicken.
Plain old chicken.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good for on the fly. Let's go.
Here we go.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. Let this old marketing move.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals, and I'm Robert Rose. Welcome to episode number 468 for Friday, February 21st, 2025. That's right, it's 2020. Guys, 2025 is amazing. Anyway, with me as usual is my friend, my pal, a colleague, and a guy who, well, he's not going to put the tariffs on the ad rates to this show, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
I like how you said a colleague, not my colleague. I've been demoted since I've been in Florida. Now I've been demoted to just a colleague.
One of many.
The heck, this is crazy. How you been? I don't know anything about tariffs because I'm not watching the news. It's
wise. You're going to be you return like next week, I think, right? Or something like that.
I have one more show down here in beautiful Key West, Florida.
Yeah. And
then I'll be back in, which by the way is perfect timing because in Cleveland, Ohio, it's like single digits.
Yeah. It's cold.
Temperature.
It's cold in the rest of the country. Yeah. I do know that. I'm hearing from my friends and other colleagues, right. That are out there.
Your real colleagues, the ones you love and care about.
That say it's really cold. Yes. No, you're other than the fact that you're returning to early 1930s Germany, you're going to be all good. It's going to be good. Yeah.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, which 1 is the paradise and 10 is the end of the world, how bad is it?
It's well, okay. There's the theater, and then there's what's really going on. And from what's really going on, I'd probably put it at a 6 or a 7. From what you would like if you're paying attention and looking at stuff as sort of warning signs, it's an 8 or a 9. I mean, it's, they're definitely trying to do something. Like there's not, it's not like last time where it was just a lot of bluster and all of this. It's like every day there are, tens of new executive orders that come out to do things. And the last one, the last one is that by the way, that the executive branch is really the only branch to interpret law. That's the new executive order. Yeah, it's good. It's
I didn't think that was the branch that interpreted law. I thought there was another branch.
Last time I went to civics class, I thought that, but no, we're wrong. Actually, the executive branch is the only branch to interpret the law, and if basically they say it's right, then it's right.
Well, I know about the whole bird flu thing because we went out to breakfast the other day and I wanted to get like a scramble skillet type thing. And I had to take out a loan for the eggs.
There it is. Yeah. I did a second mortgage. Yeah. Mortgage for those eggs.
I hear it's like $17 an egg now.
It's good. It's getting close to that.
Yeah. I was like, well, I didn't know. I'm like, do you want to rent a car for a week or do you want a three egg omelet?
Scramble?
Like, which one do you want? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Transportation, eggs, protein. It's good for you. But it's been good. The weather has not been great down here. Last night it hit 69. That's the coldest it's been.
Yeah.
And one of the people that we're with had to put on a light jacket.
Oh no.
So yes, I know, right? It's kind of stunning news down here. I've never been in a place where the high temperature and the low temperature of the day is so close.
Yeah.
It's basically high of 78, low of 73 every day.
I'm like, lovely. Yeah,
it is lovely. It's the loveliest loveliest place I've ever been. I could literally live down here. My wife is going to force me to go back in a week and a half, and I'm already verklempt about it. I don't want to return to Cleveland, because then I'm going to get in. Here's why. It's not just because I'm in Florida and Key West. It's because I'm going to get into my regular. I'm going to start looking at the news. I'm going to get back on Facebook and see stupid people doing stupid things.
Right.
And you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And I'm like, but maybe I don't have to.
You don't have to. No one's forcing you.
Earlier this week, I sent you an email with that stupid survey. Yeah. It said, right. It said those people who read the news or read or watch the news in the morning are 27% less happy or something like that. And you said, what does that even mean?
That's exactly right. It's like, what does 27% less happy mean?
I don't know. Yeah, but I liked it.
Specific number.
You said oddly specific number. Yeah. I'm like, it was. It's kind of, and it's, you know what? It's more believable because it's a weird number.
Yeah. And I think I signed it off 73% happy guy. Yeah. I'm 73% happy. Yeah. So anyways, how's business is what? Good. I hear. Yeah. Everything's great. Everything's great. Everything we're doing very well. It's we're having a busy thankfully, I mean, because it has really truly kept my mind off of everything else, which has been, I'm so busy with client work that I'm not thinking about a lot of the everything else that's going on, and
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, if things really start to take off, do you have to do you become like 11th bear?
Yeah.
And then like 13th bear instead of 7th bear? Oh, okay. That's bad. That's a bad joke.
You've acquired the dad jokes while you were down there in Key West. That's
good. You have no idea. That's all. I only talk in dad jokes now. Yeah. There's nothing. There's just nothing else.
I only talk in dad jokes.
You know what
it's like that Star Trek episode, right? So
you know what my actual name is down here now?
Yeah.
My actual name is Fewer Words. That's all she says to me now. She looks at me and she says, "Fewer words."
I like that.
I don't know what that means.
That means you're doing this, and she needs you to do this.
We go for our walks. We go for wonderful walks in the morning. Yeah, and I know, and it's we're going, and she's like, I pick out, oh, look at that thing, and look at that thing over there, and she says, "Isn't it? It's so nice and quiet. Let's just have a nice quiet walk. We don't have to talk all the time.
Yeah, we
can just be." And I'm like, okay,
It's like that scene out of. Do you remember the scene out of When Harry Met Sally? When they're having dinner and he's like, you have a good friend when you don't have to talk during dinner. You can just eat.
That's what she wants.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the guy that's picking out. Look at that. That napkin's kind of odd. Yeah. She's like, oh, geez, here we go. Fewer words.
Yeah, fewer.
All right, how's what we got a show this week?
We do have a show this week. We have a wonderful show this week. We'll talk a little bit about Reddit's maybe growth problem, where Reddit sits in the world. They just had their financial release and really got punished for it, because talking about the changes in Google search algorithms and all of that. And obviously that has big meaning when it comes to marketing and content and what we're doing out there in the world from that perspective. And then we'll get into the new mandate for content creators, this Create a Series. Interesting article about how episodic content series are really sort of becoming the new thing. Then we'll get to our winners and losers. I will pick a loser, which is going to talk about, Allstate and sort of their release, kind of an article that the Wall Street Journal covered around how they have become more empathetic using AI than less empathetic in their customer service. And I'll talk about what bullshit that is. And then Joe,
tell us what you really think.
Yeah, and then Joe will talk about Kai Cenat or Kai Cenat. I don't know the proper pronunciation of that.
They're both correct.
They're probably both correct, is exactly right. Then we'll get to our Rants and Raves, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the AP News and the history of AP News and a little bit of that and why it is now banned from the White House and Air Force One and all that kind of stuff and the future of news. And Joe is going to provide some commentary on the robo-umps in the Major League Baseball.
Oh, yes.
He's going to talk about the rave of that, I suppose.
I ran a lot about AI stuff and whatever, but I actually think this is a good move, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it because it's not football and it's not football.
Yeah.
It's baseball, folks.
It's a football free show. I think the next few shows are going to be. Yeah. There is stuff to talk about in football, but we're not gonna go there.
Maybe up to the draft. We'll be radio silent or podcast silent. That is
NFL circumspect is the Anyway,
all right.
Let's get to our first story. Our first story is coming to us courtesy of CNBC, and CNBC is reporting that Reddit shares plunge after Google algorithm change contributes to miss in user numbers. The article opens up by saying Reddit shares fell more than 15% on Wednesday. That's this Wednesday, folks, after the company reported weaker than expected user numbers in its fourth quarter earnings. Basically, global activity daily active uniques, or oh my God, they have an acronym for this now. DAUQs rose 39% from a year earlier to an average of 101.7 million for the fourth quarter. That trailed Wall Street's estimates of 103.1 million. So they missed it by 2%, like less than 2%. But okay.
Dumb.
All right. Punish them, Wall Street. Anyway, what seems to be causing Wall Street agita is the fact that Google search algorithm change caused volatility, quote unquote, with user growth in the fourth quarter. But the company's search-related traffic has since recovered in the first quarter, says Reddit CEO Steve Huffman in a letter to shareholders. What happened wasn't unusual. Referrals from search fluctuate from time to time, and they primarily affect logged out users. Huffman wrote, and the article goes on to talk about how Reddit has benefited from some search updates in the past. And I think basically the Duke number, I think the Wall Street was punishing Reddit a little bit because of how dependent they are on Google search algorithm and how that goes. I mean, up and down 2% seems pretty flat to me. I mean, it was enormous growth, but okay, not this. I mean, it's like okay, but anyway, I'm trying to provide rational sort of thought to the stock market, and that's my first mistake. Any bigger takes on this?
I think there's the bigger issue about the Google search algorithm and what it does or does not do to Reddit, I think is a real thing. And I think it's affecting everyone. And we've seen it on LinkedIn, and we've seen all our friends write about how we all need to be concerned. Is it the end of times for this type of search engine optimization? And I think it's a valid question. We don't know.
Right.
We don't know if search as we knew it was going away. Looking at the Reddit numbers, I wish when they went public, I would have bought some stock.
Oh my gosh. No
because
kidding.
They're up, 250% or something like that.
Yeah.
I did not realize their margins are over 90% gross margin. They've got they literally, it's no cost because the content is everyone else.
That's right.
So it's and then I also see in a separate report that they're thinking about launching paid forums, which I don't know how they're going to do, but it seems like if it's an exclusive forum based, it sounds like that could work. At least they're going to test it out and see if it's another revenue. I also, what was it? You said 100 million users a day, like active users a day. That is incredible. That's probably over 1 billion. If you look at all the different users, they're probably getting 1 billion people.
They do
to Reddit in one way. Do they calculate that? Is that a thing?
Yeah. They have it's estimated that there are more than 1 billion users, right? And in any form, and so it's a little different in that you don't have to have an account to really surf Reddit, nor do you have to log into it, right? Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, it really is a big website, really, other than but you can have obviously a login. I've got a login and an account and in sort of my favorites and all that. I'm a very heavy Reddit user.
You always have. I remember you and like from the beginning, like you and Claire McDermott were always like, you got to be on Reddit. We've got to have look at that. I think so. The quick thing is that just on Reddit itself, I think everybody, an individual creator or a content marketer, probably needs to look at, does Reddit play in our plans at all? I'm not saying you need a Reddit strategy. I'm just saying it's probably important enough, and it's going to continue to grow. I think they've solidified their position. There's an opportunity there. Yes. My little conspiracy theory that I wanted your take on. That when I first saw, this is what I first saw when I read this article. I read a couple other articles associated. I was wondering if Google was dampening the results on purpose because they want to buy Reddit. And as a search play, because if you said what's the search engine? What's the biggest search engine in the world today? It's Google,
right?
Outside AI, what's the second biggest search engine? Like really important, it's Reddit. Because if you want human results, you go to Reddit. You're using Google to get to Reddit, but you're still using Reddit. I wonder if that plays into Alphabet's strategy of we need to have this human-driven search platform as well as what we're doing in bigger Google. Does that make any sense at all?
I think it does if you were to look at Google buying it not for a search play, but more of an AI play, right? So the data around and using it as a base of a learning model, right? Because if you think about the size of Reddit, there is literally a subreddit for any topic you can think of. And so when you think about the scope of data that Reddit has, that would make now here's the thing, it's all scrapable and easily gotten. So it's probably already for the most part in most of the learning models that are out there.
Baked in.
But the key would be Google would take it and make it private, right? Make it, in other words, that they would keep that data. And so from X, whatever acquisition date forward, they would have that data in discussion. It would be, I could see it happening. I could see Google, but I could see a lot of people buying Reddit, especially in the short term, as it is theoretically, it's undervalued right now. Given all the numbers you just spouted, Reddit is really, it's seen astronomical growth, but it's really, if you just look at it, it's sort of, it's the 9th biggest website in the world. And it is.
And they barely monetized it yet. They basically just started monetizing. There's lots of different ways to do that. I guess I was just thinking of, because your point about short term, there's a lot of companies, right? Big tech companies that are like, we have 2 years right now to get a deal done. Like we can buy stuff right now, because nobody's going to stop us.
Yep.
So the feds are not going to stop you doing anything. And by the way, if you're going to cheat on your taxes too, now's the time, because they just laid off 6,000 people from the IRS. I saw this morning. Yeah. So there's lots of things that you could probably get away with right now. And I think one of them is now you've got Google and Apple and Amazon and Microsoft all looking and saying, we can now start buying some stuff, but we have to do it quickly because they've all got major cash sitting on the sidelines. So
that's right. So I could see that happening in the short term. So yes, I buy your conspiracy theory, because I think that the sort of tangent where I thought you might be going with that conspiracy theory is that this is sort of Google, because Google wants to keep, there's no doubt right now that they are making bigger changes than they normally do, right? They are playing with this, because it was only a year ago that they had the huge algorithm update. I think it was called the content nuggets update, or the content, whatever it was. It was like the thing that gave Reddit sort of like every search result had Reddit sort of threads in it. And now they've changed it again. So there's no doubt that they're making bigger swings with the algorithm changes over the last year or two. They're trying to figure it out, right? As they bring in AI oriented search, you look at a search result page now on Google, and it's, the first, if you're even on a decent sized monitor, your first screen is AI and all paid, right? It is, you don't get to an organic search result until you get about 3/4, 2 or 3 screens down, especially on a mobile device, but even on a desktop device, you're not, so organic search is just broken, right? For the most part. And so they're keeping this alive. They're keeping paid search obviously alive for the obvious reason. But I have to think that at some point the competition starts to eat and eat and eat and eat. And I think I just saw a statistic that they're it's like below 90% for the first time ever, their share of search. So it's going to get interesting later this year for sure.
So what you just said, I mean, could Google search as we know it now be what Yellow Pages were 20 years ago?
It's interesting.
Could you be seeing that? So it's a cash cow, and it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller every year. It's like, oh, it's still good business. It's still throwing off all kinds of cash, but at some point it's not going to be a thing.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's at.
Well, I go back to even what I think it was either Sergey, it was one of the two founders who years ago, this is pre-COVID, had said when they talked about the future. So I only remember this because I ended up writing an article about it, which is he talked about search and basically saying that the future of search wasn't search. It was just content it was answers that you get before you even know you need the answer. In other words, the idea was, and the whole sort of strategy around that was to create sort of journeys, right? So in other words, it's not enough to just answer the question. You have to answer the next question that would logically come from that. So the example being for, you'd say, okay, I search for chocolate chip cookie recipe. Well, it's not that you want the recipe for chocolate chip cookies. What you want is, yes, the recipe for chocolate chip cookies, but you also want all the different ways that you could make chocolate chip cookies and the different ingredients and the sort of history of those ingredients. And, all this, you sort of need to think about the journey in sort of the way that you structure your content, because in the future, according to the Google founder that I can't remember who actually said it, was basically the interface for that is going to be content. Just, you're not going to have to search. In other words, it's because of behavioral observation, because of, the way that you interact with other content, it will know that it should just give you a chocolate chip cookie search plus all of the things before you even need it. And AI is a big step in that direction, right? Where we're not looking for the length or sort of breadth of answers. We just want the answer. We just want the piece of content to get to it. And I don't even need a web page to do that, right? I just literally just need to ask my device or look at things, and I don't need a web page to tell me that. I can just have it audibly tell me that. So there's no more visiting of a website, right? So it's just a fascinating time if we start thinking about the sort of logical steps that might be taken.
So so my thing would be that Google tries to take and corner what's left of what we know as search. Yeah. Reddit acquisition is part of that. And they're not going to be stopped because in long term, it becomes a smaller part of search, or not even, as to your point, not even part of the equation about how people get information.
Exactly.
And then you're done. All right.
Exactly. Hey, speaking of getting information, we should give our audience some information that helps us pay the bills.
Oh, you're a giver.
Do you feel like your leads never lead anywhere? And you're making content that no one sees, and it takes forever to build a campaign? Well, that's why we built HubSpot. It's an AI-powered customer platform that builds campaigns for you, tells you which leads are worth knowing, and makes writing blogs, creating videos, and posting on social a breeze. So now, it's easier than ever to be a marketer. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Are you ready to do the hustle? No, that's not a 1970s reference. What I mean is a great podcast. It's the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with Joe Fear, and it's all about how to build a business so it gives you the freedom and fuel for your life. Join Joe as he discusses systems, mindset tweaks, reframes, and strategies for entrepreneurs, and really anyone, to enjoy the process of being in business and having fun. This isn't for the entrepreneur looking to build $1 billion business, rather, somebody who's looking to build systems that work. You can find the Hustle and Flowchart podcast wherever you follow your favorite pods.
Man, I'm just like digging on that music, digging on that AI music.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you this last time. We were enjoying our pool time. And I had it on something like 93.7 Key West yacht rock favorite. But they do yacht rock all day long, which by the way is amazing because you hear Michael McDonald every third song, and it's chilling because I keep forgetting. Anyways, nobody wants this. Yeah. Nobody. Anyways, at night they do our random Casey Kasem top 40.
Ooh. Oh,
and we were nice. Sitting around, we were in the pool, and we're trying to guess the next song. It was like the top 40 of February 1985. And we're like, oh, what is it? Is it Madonna? Is it Prince. Michael Jackson? Absolutely. Is it whatever? Prince. It was crazy. The number one song in it wasn't 85.
Little Red Corvette.
No, it was 87. I'm sorry. February 87. Number one song, February 87.
In excess, no, 87 would be I don't know. I've so many going through my head. Gotta give
up. Living on a prayer.
Oh, of course.
Bon Jovi.
Yes, Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer. Right. That tour was happening. Right. That's huge.
Yeah. So anyways, I loved it because we weren't looking it up. We were just trying to feel like, what could number 7 be in February of 1987.
Calling in from Indiana is Jane. She's 17 years old, and she's telling me that John Bon Jovi is her life. At number 7, here's Living on a Prayer.
That might be your best. Yeah, that might be that's way better than Sean Connery. And you got a great Sean Connery. But anyways, that's perfect. Thank you for that. That made my day.
There you go. A little bit of for you. All right, let's get to our next story here, which is going to come courtesy of Digiday. This is fascinating. I really enjoyed this story. The headline is, as more creators expand to episodic content, studios want to repurpose and syndicate their shows. The article opens up by saying, not every creator will end up with a media empire like Mr. Beast and score a lucrative streaming deal, but maybe they don't have to go that route. Thanks to a variety of revenue streams, be it product line or brand sponsorships, creators can supplement the ad revenue they generate from posting content to social media platforms. Now, with content studios and some agencies offering new ways for creators to monetize existing content or produce original creator series for social or connected TV, they can up their content distribution and negotiate more extensive partnerships with brands. That was a very buzzwordy way of saying, basically, there are a lot of new opportunities for content creators. Founded in 2007, production company London Alley, which has produced commercials for Smirnoff and Bose, is developing original creator content through its digital studio that seeks to fill a new space of indie television on YouTube, says Ryan Horgan, president of London Alley Studios, by producing long-form episodic content with creators who come with an established audience in the millions, per Horgan. On platforms like YouTube or TikTok, Horgan believes creators and brands can go beyond the traditional model of selling shows to streaming platforms. We kind of believe YouTube is a place to just have indie television with creators, and that the long-term goal isn't necessary then to sell it to a streamer and leave YouTube. He said that YouTube now has more eyeballs on TV screens and homes than Netflix does. So basically, the article goes on to its and some length, and it's really interesting to talk about how content creators now thinking about creating series ends up being a little bit of like a, sort of the spring leagues of baseball or something like that, where you could get called up to the quote unquote majors by these studios and agencies if you can create something worth sort of pitching to networks. And as someone in LA who literally I started my career by working in a business where you would pitch scripts and TV concepts and movies and all those sorts of things to the big studios as a means of getting a job in the studios. This is sort of like it literally is trying to find that next person sitting in the drugstore drinking a milkshake who's going to be the next star, right?
I love the article. Yeah, I think it says what we always have known. Like, if you want to make it and build an audience anywhere, specifically on social media or YouTube, you have to do a regular show. Mm-hmm. So it's not rocket science what they're saying. I think what we found out is that generally it takes a longer time to do that than than anybody can imagine. And most brands out there don't have the patience and don't have maybe the support of finance to give it the time to grow. But content creators don't have that. If you're an individual creator out there, you generally already know it takes some time. You're putting your heart and soul in it. You're putting way more time than a brand would put into anything. So I think the opportunity in this case, and I hate to say it because I'm always the guy that says, oh, if you're a brand, you should do regular content series. I think in this case, because there's so many content creators filling all these individual niches, I would be looking at, before I'm going to create one, is there any individual creator doing something similar or something that we would do, and maybe throw some support around sponsoring that before actually doing the series. And I know I'm saying, oh, you shouldn't do content marketing from that respect, but there are so many. If you look at companies doing content versus individuals, it's not even close. There's so many more individuals out there trying to make it and do things on TikTok and YouTube and whatever. I would like, from this shows me to say, hey, why don't you pause? You're probably not going to do an episodic series. You're probably going to do a one-off or a campaign. It's not going to do anything for your business. So before you just create crap and that nobody's going to pay attention to, why don't you see if somebody else is doing that for you and you could throw your support behind them?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think there's two lenses that you can look through there, right? One is as a brand. And you, just to your point, right? It's like, if this is what you and I have been talking about this for years, which is the build or buy analysis that everybody should do prior to starting, something in content marketing, like whether it's a new magazine, a new blog, a new podcast, a new YouTube show, a new whatever it is you're going to do in content marketing. If the sort of spark in everybody's eyes to do something episodic or, big, like a big initiative, you can probably go out there and find it, right? And acquire it if you want to, or at least do that analysis. The second piece, which I really, really appreciated about this article, was the sort of advice, in so many ways, if you look at where the influencer / creator market has been, it's been sort of this idea of, I just need to be an amplified version of me. Right. In other words, I just get out there and just let my sparkling personality shine. And I say cute or funny things, or I do bits or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, I'm now a big social media influencer. And that typically, the life cycle of that is very short, because honestly, there's no there, right? It's literally just your sort of stop and start where your sparkling personality begins and ends. So you can only sustain that for so long before you become sort of tired, right? And we could list off hundreds of amazing content creators who literally didn't ever find a concept behind what it was they wanted to do for the long term, and simply just relied on the fact that they were funny or that they did stupid things, or, there was no story there. There was no sort of concept there around, what they were doing in the long term. And I think what I'm seeing in this is like, it's direct advice to say, you've got to find that, right? If you want to make this as a content entrepreneur, if you want to make this, that you've got to find more than just, I'm a great, sparkling, funny, weird, poetic person, right? That will get you personality. Your personality will get you so far, but it will only get you so far. And you've got to find something that can hold people's attention for a long period of time, which is honestly what Mr. Beast did, right? If you look at what Mr. Beast did, it started as him being sort of doing goofy stunts, right? Just as a personality. And then he found a concept that really worked as a sort of a ongoing sort of thing and turned it into a show. And that's what really works.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Haktua girl had her
moment,
podcast, right? Didn't go very well. Yeah, I thought that, didn't they start the podcast and then it's already like not done very well?
Yeah, well, she didn't find anything, right? I mean, it was, she's a very funny person, and I've watched her interviews and watched her do things, and just got really, I think got really bad advice about finding a way to turn her personality into some sort of concept, right? Which was the podcast, maybe. And certainly where she really screwed up was going into that sort of meme coin thing that she launched. And so you've got to be really circumspect about this if you're going to make yourself a career out of it.
Well, I think that if you want to just be popular, you can ride on the individual quirks.
Sure, and
it'll personality,
but up rise and down fast. Yeah.
Ask yourself why. Why are you doing this? Do you want to create a business? That's a whole separate thing.
That's
You're
right.
not going to do it through your own personality.
That's right.
There you go.
All right, let's get to our winners and losers here. This is where Joe and I pick either a winner from the week in marketing or a loser from the week in marketing. Let's see. Would you like to go first? You're talking about.
Yeah, I saw this morning and it just bothered me and I wanted to share it. So right. Kai Cenat, who I didn't know from Adam 6 months ago, and then my son said, "You don't know Kai Cenat? He's like a huge Twitch streamer." So I looked him up. One of the biggest Twitch streamers, has a huge audience, and those people might know him. Like if you watch a T-Mobile commercial with Snoop Dogg in it, Kai Cenat is the one standing next to Snoop Dogg. Just to give you some context.
All right.
Well, this week Kai comes out. We'll put the link in the show notes. Kai comes out and says he's starting Streaming University. So he's going to start teaching. He wants to recruit Mr. Beast and some other people and bring them in and teach people how to stream. And it's going to be fun. And we can do it better than anyone else and all this stuff. And my thing is just stop. Like, why does everyone have to? They get a notoriety that he's doing a great job already. He's got his own thing going on, but no, we've got to go. Now we've got to go teach and do this stuff. And and it's not that that's a bad thing. I think it's great. If it's a free streaming university and somebody gets something out of it and learns something about business, great. But it just seems like every time we got to say, oh, I want to teach people to do what I'm doing. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Right. You just keep doing your thing. We don't need to have your, you get I can't even read the comments from him. He's like, we're going to have the best MF and streaming university there's ever been. And then we'll get Mr. MF and Beast doing his MF and thing. And I'm like, oh, she's MF and up. I just can't take it. So anyways, I'll put the link in the show notes. You can make your own decision.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because everybody, it's like that coming out of COVID everybody had, you could throw a rock and hit somebody that had an online class of some kind, right?
Got to teach
basically, and it was all the same thing. It was like, let me teach you how to be me, right? Basically. And in varying degree, it was all the same thing, which was what you need to do to be like me is you need to be like me, and you need to create a lot of content that creates a class that basically has people sign up for a class teach them how to be you. And so it was the advice was so meta in its nature, which is like, okay, thank you.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. What do you got?
I got a quick one. So this last week, I see an article in the Wall Street Journal, and the article is about Allstate insurance. And a lot of people are posting it out on LinkedIn, and the AI sort of folk are out there posting it out. And basically, it's the article. The headline of the article is as it turns out AI is more empathetic than Allstate's insurance reps. And the article goes on, and it's basically a case study. I'm not sure how Allstate got this PR release placed in the Wall Street Journal, other than the Wall Street Journal needed something to run. And I looked, it's not a sponsored article, but does it read like a sponsored article. And so it basically interviews the CIO of Allstate, who in very short order, and I'll truncate this just for time, which is he makes a claim that the reps, his customer service reps, are now using AI to communicate automatically with customers who have questions about their claims, who want to negotiate the idea of what they're going to pay out for a claim, and basically general customer service stuff. And ostensibly it says that that AI is more empathetic. Basically, they've done a study to now show that humans get frustrated in their correspondence and answer more curtly and aren't as empathetic as the AI is when it's creating that. And boy, when I read that, I went, that's just sounds like bullshit. I mean, that's just no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a minute. Well, I mean, it may be true. I don't know. I mean, everything that they say may be true. But however, another then I'm searching around looking for the source of the article or the press release or something, and I find another article from Futurism, which we've quoted on this show before, and they talked about how they ran the story. They sort of reran the Wall Street Journal story, and then got notified by Allstate that basically, we need to clarify a bunch of stuff, right? First of all, that the AI agents aren't automatically using AI in their communications. They're using some templates that may have been created by AI, but they still review every email communication before it goes out. And basically they're encouraged to use AI as they're basically using and creating the very human created emails. And all of that is, so nothing is automated, nothing to see here, move along, right? Basically, these are not the droids you're looking for. And so I went, okay, that makes more sense to me. And so I went back to the Wall Street Journal article, and they've got a small update about, basically changing one of the quotes of the CIO, but basically the nature of the article remains the same. The thing that I thought was a loser was, one, this is Allstate basically, just not handling things in a very good way. So it's not, basically the messaging here in a comms way is really ham-fisted. Again, we talk about that. And the interesting thing to me is that I went in my research going back, I found that the CEO of Allstate actually in an event 2 weeks ago had said something similar, right? Basically it hinted at something similar. So clearly they've been thinking about this messaging for a little while in terms of how to get it out into the public. And so then I wondered, I wonder if a reporter actually called the CIO to clarify the CEO's remarks, and they saw, sort of newsjacking opportunity and went, yes, let's tell this story. And then went, oh, damn it, this is not the right story to tell because the pushback. So anyway, it's just another example, I think, of a fumble-handed way of talking about AI, because it's just it's this overuse of the excuse of big companies managing costs by saying we'll just cut people and replace them with AI is just, every time we see this example is just turns out to be mostly bullshit. And so that's what I wanted to call attention to as a loser here, is like Allstate now joins the ranks of those contributing to the bullshit out there about all this stuff. And it's just, it's annoying.
Well, on your point about cutbacks and firings and layoffs because of AI, it is almost always an excuse.
Yeah,
they're using AI because everyone can use it. It's like, oh, of course, yes, AI. But generally, they're like, we need to cut people. We've been planning this for a while. We're going to reduce headcount. You see it. Facebook's been doing it. Of course, Twitter.
And they're using AI as the excuse, right? They're using
yes.
They're
it's
using
not AI.
They're
using because It's like, oh, okay, well, we'll use it. It's like kind of the first thing. It's like, well, because of AI and other innovations, we need to lay off these 4,000 people. Yeah, sure,
right.
You do.
Right. Yeah. Which then puts the fear, uncertainty, and doubt into the worker base to say, to let sort of those that are out there, the sort of the, tech bros and that are out there saying basically like, if you're not on AI, you're losing, you're going to lose, you're going to die, and that sort of,
you better be on ChatGPT.
Oh my gosh!
Be dead by tomorrow.
Exactly. It's so that is just it's anyway. Yeah, I get off on a rant on that. But there you go. There you go.
I know how you feel. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. He's okay.
It's not your fault.
So
it's not
my
your
wife
fault.
and I. My wife and I do that all the time. It's like when something happens, he's okay. He's okay. We go back and forth. He's okay.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, speaking of rants and raves, let's get to our rants and raves here, where Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave that makes me feel like we're getting more tariffs put on us, or that we're feeling like maybe not. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I don't even know where.
I don't know what you're talking about
with that. Yeah, I don't even know where to go with that. Other than Canada, I'm with you, right? Anyway. Get up on a rant.
We love Canadians. We have a great Canadian audience.
Gosh. I'm thinking about moving there. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I'm here in Key West, and it's not part of anything.
There you go.
Ask anybody that lives here. They're just just vibing out.
Yeah.
Man, leave us alone, man. We're all good. We're all good down here. 90 miles from Cuba.
Do you remember the movie Canadian Bacon?
Yes, excellent movie. John Candy.
Yes. John Candy and Dan Aykroyd. Welcome to Canada, sportsman's paradise.
It's so good. Anyways, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. You go first.
So I don't know. I knew this was coming. I didn't know it would be so quick, and I love this. For the past few years, they've been testing out robo umpires in minor league baseball, which basically means that they're looking as the ball. They have a set, which is 443 square inches. It's an oval that becomes the strike zone for every player. I'm sorry, it's a square. The oval is what humans generally do. But I've been watching this happen years, and there's basically now you can challenge a call. And immediately the umpire that's standing there will go up, check, and then you can, you could say yes, whatever. You get a couple challenges a game, and it's been working really well in the minor leagues. And now they're going to test it out in spring training in the major leagues. So every team will have like 20 or 25 games where they'll get to use this. And if you disagree with a call, you get like 2 or 3 challenges a game. I don't know what the final details are, but I like that they're using this because I was looking at the spread of what's called a ball and what's called a strike by human umpires, and there's such a bias. What's funny is if there's an 0-1 count or an 0-2 count on a batter, you're more likely to get a strike. The umpire expands the strike zone from 443 square inches to 550 square inches so they make it bigger. So they're more likely to get a strikeout. And if it's a 3-0 count in the batter's favor, the strike zone gets smaller. Well, these are things that are easily fixable. So it can happen, but they're going to do like obvious calls or not, fine, whatever, but anything on the corners, and they're getting it down really quickly where they're only adding a couple. If they do it right, they're only adding, I think, 17 seconds to a challenge. So they can do it really, really quickly. They're going to test it out this year. And then next year, 26, if everything works out, they'll actually launch that throughout Major League Baseball. And I love that because the biggest problem, like we've seen with NFL, and they fixed a lot of that, is they're just getting calls wrong. And there's no reason to get calls wrong because we have the technology to get them right. So I'm glad that they're finally doing this. My son and I are going to go down to spring training in March and check out a couple games where this is being used. I'll report back, but I've seen minor league teams do it, and it works really well. And I'm anxious to see. I don't know how they're going to do it on like televised, like how the announcers are going to adjust to it, and I don't know what the strike zone is going to look like because you always see the box. So I don't know if that's going to change because they're going to have to report it differently. But I like that they're doing this. So anyway,
it's good stuff. Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, to see that, for one, to understand the stats. That actually it makes total sense, right? It's just human nature to sort of try and game the average, right? So where they don't want to seem biased, but they're gonna sort of be a little more lenient if the counts one way or the other. But
it's so crazy though, isn't it? Like if you're already in a hole, the umpire will make sure that you fail, because they're gonna make the strike zone bigger. But if you're succeeding and you're heading the count, we're gonna help you out. I'm like, what is this? This is crazy.
That's right. So, that's right. It makes total sense from just a human nature standpoint, right? Because it's the call is on you, right? You're the umpire. The call is on you. So I would think that they would sort of welcome this. I would think that they would welcome this because it basically it relieves them a lot of accusations of bias, right? Because one way or the other, and then what they'll be able to do is really start to really see this, right? In other words, if they can really start to track it with the technology, then they can see how good the umpires really are.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a big success. I hope it is.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. All right, what do you got?
Okay, so basically this one is so I don't know if you followed because you're sort of away from the news, but the AP, the Associated Press, which has been really one of the most non-biased, unbiased news organizations ever, really, in terms of, they're sort of known for their just the facts, right? That's all they do is just report the information. There's no opinion. There's no, and the AP style book is one of the most copied style books in terms of the ways that journalists will report on. And of late, the AP, the Associated Press, has been basically banned out of the White House, banned out of Air Force One. They got kicked out of the Pentagon. And so they're, and this, what we'll link to in the show notes is just a fascinating article by Axios, actually, that talk about all of the grievances that the Republican government, or the Trump administration really more than anything else, seems to have with the AP style guide, the AP, sort of itself. It's not just that they feel like that they're biased, which they aren't, but there's a number of things around what the AP calls that the AP has made over the last few years in terms of what they've included, what they've not included, things like the fact that they've discontinued the use of the words illegal immigrant, right? Because it's not accurate, right? It's not an accurate way to say that these are undocumented, immigrants or those kinds of things, because they're not illegal, right? They are just simply undocumented, which is not against the law. It is a civil violation, not a legal violation. Anyway, stuff like, the fact that they've, basically they continue to cover transgender issues, right? The AP does, and they don't like that. They don't like the fact that they call it gender affirming care. They all of these kinds of grievances that they sort of list out in the AP style book are just fascinating to me, because they are language, first of all, and it is language typically meant to be inclusive and factual, rather than sort of with any sort of slant to it one way or the other. And that is what AP has been doing for its entire history, is trying to get that right, modernize with the language in a way that reports the facts in an unbiased way. And that's, from my observation right now, and where I see mainstream media, especially broadcast media, they're just, it's just like they're folding up tents, right? It seems like there is just sort of this capitulation in terms of what is allowed. I've been watching some of these interviews with people on CNN and on CBS and on some of the mainstream media, the MSNBC as well, Fox as well, all of these different outlets. And it's just, you can say basically anything, right? You can say anything and not really be called out, because they're just going to let you say it, right? You're just going to say it. It doesn't matter which side you're on. You can be far left, you can be far right. I just really see mainstream media now getting sidelined more and more and more as a meaningful bulwark to our the facts and what's going on in our country. And it's sad to me. It's being a media person, growing up a media person, not a journalist, but certainly a big fan of journalists. It's just a sad state to see where things are. And I think that for me, the AP was sort of like the thing, right? It was like, man, if there's one group out there that basically really tries to just calls balls and strikes in a factual way and not side anywhere, it's the AP. And to see them sort of get, thrust to the side like this is just, it's just a sad state.
Yeah. It seems like we've read the science fiction book before.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And I think that the struggle is a lot of people don't know, including myself. We don't really know what to do, because what's going to stop? I think the one thing that I heard on the Galloway podcast is he's like, we can't be all that nice anymore. Somebody's going to have to be a real idiot on the other side and just start fighting this. You can't play nice to a lot of the things that are going on, because you're just seeing the deconstruction of media.
Yeah.
Of what we would call impartial media.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah,
or
scary.
Not even impartial media, just media that cares about the truth, right? Cares about the facts, and doesn't want just clicks. You know, I mean, I ranted on this with regard, you know, and it's not just politics, right? It's also the catastrophization of everything, right? I talked about this during the LA wildfires, you know, so if you look at that, if you look at the way that the mainstream media covered the LA wildfires, you would have thought, you know, Armageddon hit this entire city. Like if you saw the graphics, if you saw the way that they talked about it, I mean, I had people call me because they said the entire city of Los Angeles is on fire. And it's like, no, it's not. And to do that, it was, you know, and it's not that they weren't serious. They were deadly serious. They were absolutely deadly serious. But the way that they reported it was about catastrophizing everything to such a degree that it basically made you want to stick to the basically building it in for clicks and eyeballs and attention rather than sort of reporting what was really going on. And it is that sort of level that we've been reduced to in order for broadcast media, especially, to compete, is just a really bad place for us to be.
Well, on that positive note,
yeah, there you go.
Like, whoa, let's just leave them feeling good for the weekend. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Yeah. Anyways, what we got going on this week?
I got going on work. Looking forward to the weekend, getting a little bit of a break from work. And and then I'm traveling a little bit next week on Monday and Tuesday, headed to Chicago to go give a workshop, and then back, and then I'll be back. Work. Scotch.
Chicago in February is not. Chicago's a great city. February, not so great. It's going
to be cold. It's going to be cold. So
yeah, I got a really tough rest of my day. I think we're gonna hit the farmers market later.
Okay,
I'm very excited about that. We're gonna get a little mango salsa.
Nice.
There's a great little stand there that makes homemade mango salsa. Might be the best thing ever.
It's good.
That's the toughest thing I have going on today.
That's good stuff. Excellent. Get that in a beer, and you're set for the day.
I'm already having a beer.
Yeah, there you go.
It's in process. All right,
there you go. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to that. Sorry to end on a downer note there, but we'll be back with more snark and fun and interesting stuff next week. And until we see you again next week, just remember, everybody, it is your story to tell. You go out there and you tell it the best way you can, and tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.